Good morning, tractors. And it is another nice day. Good morning, tractors. So, I guess you can kind of figure that I'm at my son's place, maybe. So, I'm gonna do a little bit of work to the case today, but it may not be all today. I may do some. Well, I'm hoping to kind of do more tomorrow. I kind of want to do some other things today, so. And we'll just keep moving along and see what happens, I guess. So I'll show you what I'm doing here with the case. I did notice the other day when I was working on it here that this grease nipple on the steering shaft down there, hopefully you can see that grease nipple right there at the bottom of this shaft is straight out, and you cannot get to it when you're underneath there. If you could, it's extremely difficult. Maybe on the hoist you might be able to get to it, maybe. But on the floor, just impossible. So when I was working at it the other day and I got the bump out and I said, well, look at that, right there. So nice and easy to get to, sort of, maybe. And I'm going to try and put in a couple of them here, but I don't know which one's going to fit. So I've got a 45 here. So that will drop it so you can go right up from the bottom and get it. That's my hope. Anyhow, that's what I'm going to try and do here. You never know what's going to happen, so you can say, I'm going to do this. Well, yeah, well, maybe you are, but it may not go the way you want it, and you won't get it done. Anyway, that's the way it is with me. I just got to keep at it and see if things work, I guess. So I had the pump in there, the paint. I kind of had it lined up down in there. The hose is too short, I would say. But my thinking is I might be able to sneak a little bit off of this end. Take that down a little tiny bit. And then what I have here is this here thing. So I could probably cut this hose. Not that I want to, but that's what I might have to do. And then put this end on the pump. And then put this coupling in between. About here somewhere, I would say. So that's my new thought there. So of course, I can say I'm going to do that, but it may or may not work. So anyway, that's about as far as I'm going to get with it today. I'm just kind of fooling with it here. I'm not too excited, so I kind of want to get some other things done. And the other things is going to involve the loader tractor. So one thing I can show you right out the back door here is I want to, that old stove that's sitting there, it's hard to see, I guess. I want to get that straightened up. So I'm going to lift that up out of there. I may or I may not have to use it in my own garage yet. So that's why I kind of want to set it up, straighten it up and get it on a pallet. I'll see, maybe I might set this up somewhere for the lifting of that stove, and I may not. So, all right, I'll get back to you at some point. So that figures, right? That's the way it goes, I guess, for me anyway. That's what I took out, and all the ones that I took don't fit. So, so now I got to try and go and find one to put in there before I get that pump in there. Hopefully, if I don't get one, then I'll have to change it when it's up on the hoist, I guess. So I'm just going to put the old one back in, and that's going to be it for now. Well, there we go. Look at that. Some figuring and some wondering and thinking and whatever, and pulling up on the exhaust pipe. In she went, just like that. I kind of got the keyways sort of lined up, and I was able to get a mirror down there to see about where I was at, so got that kind of figured out, and just moved the pump, turned it, I guess you'd say, like right and left, and then I grabbed a hold of the pipe here, and there was enough room for me to lift the engine a bit, and that allowed the pump to kind of go in like that. So it's in there. All right, so that's about as much as I'm going to do today. That's good. I'm happy with that. So we'll leave it like that for now, and I'll get back to you. I'm going to get at the other stuff that I kind of wanted to do today. And of course I'm back again. But as I got looking at this here, even with the pump in there, I can still kind of get at that grease nipple down at the bottom of the steering shaft there yet. So we'll see if we can find a fitting for that, and then maybe tomorrow I'll put it in. And we'll finish putting the bolts on, and I'm going to see if I can go and get a piece of hose somewhere. I think I'd rather do that, put a piece of hose on that, and then bring it over and then hook it to that guard fitting there, and then hook up the hose the other end of it without cutting this hose here. So, moving ahead. Or as Brock would say, moving on. Alright, we'll see if we can lift up this wood stove here. Well, there now. I guess that's a little better than it was. It's certainly not sinking into the ground like it was. Yeah, it's not half bad straight, too. Look at that. Yeah, well, it's kind of hard digging there for the tractor, but anyway, it's only a little tractor. Yeah, that's all right. It sets up there nice. There we go. One job done, so I got another one to do, but I'm not going to show you that one because it just takes up too much time trying to set things up and finding a camera holding thing and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be it for today. Tomorrow we'll hope to be back at the case 224 and maybe have it running, but we'll have to see. All right, that's good for now then. Enough rambling and going on foolish for today. I'm going to have to do a lot of editing on this one. Have a great day wherever you're at and whatever you're doing.